Try to imagine a world with no artificial light at all. Picture the world of early humans. For our ancestors, darkness was not a time to rest. It was a daily threat of death. That is when humanity nearly vanished. By one hypothesis, our species passed through a bottleneck. Only a few thousand individuals were left on the whole planet. We were on the brink of extinction. Like Amur tigers today, all 8 billion people alive now are descendants of that tiny handful of frightened survivors. The thing is, a human in the dark is helpless. You cannot see your own hand in front of your face, but out of the darkness, something is watching you. Lions, leopards, saber-toothed cats. Their eyes see in the dark as if it were day, and a human could only sit, listen to every rustle, and tremble with fear. A twig snaps. You have no idea who is creeping out there. You had to press yourself to the ground and hope that tonight they would eat your neighbor, not you. Every night was a lottery. Fall into a deep sleep, and you probably will not wake up. But it was right in the middle of this terror that culture was born. The first art in deep caves, handprints, was not doodling out of boredom. It was a human cry. I am here. I survived this night. Our ancestors ground red ochre, the first cosmetic on the planet, and painted marks on their bodies, trying to protect themselves from night predators. Darkness ruled people completely, drove us up into the trees, and stole exactly half of our lives. It was like this for thousands of years. Until the day a human stole the night's greatest weapon. It all changed with an ordinary thunderstorm. Lightning strikes a tree, and it bursts into flame. The whole savannah flees in panic. Birds, antelopes, huge predators all run from the blaze, and in the middle of this chaos stands our ancestor. Raw instinct screams at him, "Run!" But the human takes a step toward the flames. He walks up, reaches out his hand, and gets burned. But instead of running away, he picks up a burning branch. In that moment, the history of Earth split into before and after. A human gripped his own handheld sun in his fist. When the next evening came, the human did not run and hide. He built a fire. The predators crept closer, then stopped in panic. It was the darkness that fled. Around the flame formed a safe circle that no leopard dared to cross. Their eyes glowed in the outer dark, but inside the circle a human could, for the first time in thousands of generations, sleep in peace. Fire gave us warmth, letting us leave Africa and settle the cold north. But most of all, it changed how we ate. Humans began to roast meat. Cooked food is digested much faster. The body no longer had to spend enormous energy digesting raw meat. That freed up energy went to the brain, and it started to grow rapidly. We got smarter because we learned to cook. The fire became the center of connection. It was at the fire that people began to gather in the evenings, share food, and look each other in the eye. But for this new life to work, evolution had to rebuild our bodies. For the sake of survival, nature made harsh compromises. Have you ever wondered why a human can choke on food? We are the only animals on the planet that can suffocate simply by talking over dinner. This is not nature's mistake. It is our price for speech, so that we could communicate, pass on knowledge by the fire, and warn each other of danger. Our ancestors' larynx dropped lower. It made room for the voice, but the airway and the food passage crossed at one dangerous point. Evolution made a deal with us. You will get to speak, but you will risk your life every time you eat. And that is not the only price. Because we walk upright, women's hips narrowed sharply. Meanwhile, our brains grew, and a baby's head got bigger. Nature made an extreme compromise. Human babies are born completely helpless and far too early. A newborn can do nothing, because otherwise its grown head simply would not fit through the birth canal. How does a tribe survive if mothers carry helpless children in their arms for years? Grandmothers saved humanity. The females of almost every species die when they lose the ability to reproduce, but human women live for decades after that. Scientists call this the grandmother hypothesis. It was older women who took on guarding the infants by the fire, while young mothers gathered resources. Without them, we would simply have died out. And when morning came, the roles reversed. The night belonged to the cats, but the day was ours. From a timid prey animal, the human turned into a ruthless endurance runner. We lost our fur, and a built-in cooling system switched on. Sweat. In the cruelest midday heat, when predators hid in the shade from overheating, Our ancestors spent hours methodically chasing antelopes to heatstroke. You are built to run an animal to death. The war with the night went on, and humans began to look for allies. We struck the most important deal in history. We tamed wolves, turning them into dogs. Dogs became our eyes and ears in the dark. If a leopard crept up on the camp, the dogs noticed it first. Humans were no longer alone against the nightmares of the night. Along with the dogs, music appeared by the fire. Ancient flutes made from bird bones are older than any farming. Music came long before we learned to sow grain. At night, to the whistle of a flute and the crackle of fire, people drove off their primal fear and bound the tribe together in a dangerous world. To survive, Stone Age people built trade networks hundreds of kilometers long, exchanging flint for weapons. We left Africa and headed north, into the long, cold European nights. There our ancestors met the Neanderthals. In each of us today lives about 2% of their DNA. That species did not vanish completely. Their genes still shape how your skin reacts to the sun, how your immune system works in the cold, and why your mood drops during a long winter night. Evolution churned out mutations at a furious pace. Just 10,000 years ago, every human on Earth had brown eyes only. But then, in one single person, a genetic glitch occurred, and the first child with blue eyes was born. That mutation helped capture the scarce light of the northern winter. Every blue-eyed person on Earth is a relative sharing one common ancestor. Along with this, nature tossed us one more accident: milk. By default, the enzyme that breaks down lactose switches off in adult mammals, but the ability to digest it became one of the fastest mutations of all. Your latte today rests on a rare mutated gene that saved your ancestors from starving to death in the polar dark.